live. Well, we're not live. We're live recording. Ryan Hunt, tell us who you are and what you do, man.
Well, I'm Ryan Hunt, and I do quite a few things. I consider myself a serial entrepreneur or a vetrepreneur. My definition of entrepreneur is someone that fails forward a lot, and that would definitely put me in that definition. Always. So, which is important. You know, that's how we grow. That's how we continue to climb to the next apex. A couple of my endeavors include 10th Mountain Recruiting, which is an executive recruiting firm, really focused in the tech startup space. However, we do quite a bit of other things as well. I have a very successful virtual conference called Veteran Social Summit. It's at www.veteransocialsummit.com coming up next time, 12 and 13 September. And in December, we had over 1,000 people attend it. So just a huge event. This theme coming up is Pathways to Vetrapreneurship. So we have some dynamic speakers that are going to be coming in, some of the usual suspects in the veteran space. I also have a project called Veteran Lifestyle Magazine, which is an online publication. Last year was our first year. We had over 240,000 views. So we're doing pretty well in that project. And I have some other things going on that we can talk about, including recently, and it's going to cause a little disruption with some of my projects, but I've been verbally offered a position as a chief human resource officer for a startup bank that plans, and I shouldn't be talking too much about it, but I will anyways. It plans to hire 1,000 veterans. It's going to be veteran only. So veteran operated and of course, veteran owned. So we're going to be doing some dynamic stuff over the next few years with that as well.
That's awesome.
For sure. Oh, and I'm a Bunker Lab ambassador, if you know what that is.
Yes.
With the Institute for Veterans and Military Families now, just actually was, I guess, bought or transferred over to the IVMF and is now one of in their portfolio of goodies.
Is Todd Connor still involved or not?
I'm not sure how much he's involved. I was blessed, I guess, lucky enough to bump into him at one of my events here in Chicago in January. I think he does play a role still, gotcha. some type of advising role.
Yeah, I've met him a few times. He's
dynamic.
Yeah. But great. I mean, Bunker Labs is just a great idea from the get-go. I mean, you know, been around quite a while at this point now, but now that it's part of IVMF, they don't really mess around with stuff. So
no, I like what the plan is with it. And that's to really establish ecosystems locally and really develop those out. And one thing that I think is important is the idea of succession planning within those local markets and trying to figure out who will be the successor to this so that we can carry on the Bunker Labs through the different iterations of the air quotes matrix. Yeah. Because what I fell on is a lot of relationships, but we have nothing really. There is some amount of tribal knowledge, but we are missing some of the basics there.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure. So considering, let's dive into veteran entrepreneurship. I mean, just entrepreneurship in general too, because considering what's going on with the economy and tariffs, you're really not just tariffs, but just the economy in general. You've got an opportunity, especially for folks, young veterans that are either getting out and looking for something to do. And I say young, but let's be honest, that's a relative term, because I look at all veterans getting out as young, because you kind of get out as what you went in as to an extent, right? As you know, transitioning is kind of difficult because your mindset goes from a very structured mindset where you are literally put into a box, right? And whether people want to believe it or not, this is my experience. You know, a lot of emotional growth doesn't necessarily happen when you're in the military. And the world out here, I feel like, moves on without you. So you get out and you're at an advantage because of your skills. But I feel like mentally and emotionally, you might be at a disadvantage. So what that does, though, is creates this dynamic opportunity for you to learn stuff right off the bat and just start a whole new life using the skills that you have, but being able to start businesses from scratch and do stuff without fear necessarily because you don't know any better. I mean, we're really good at that. Let's be honest.
That's true.
Yeah, we're really good at doing stuff that we should be scared of doing, but we're not because we're dumb to it. Let's be honest. We just don't have it. It's like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. You know what I mean?
I think we're definitely desensitized to a lot of these things.
Yes, to danger per se, right?
I think one thing that you really you touched on, just to circle back, because I think it's so important. I don't want to miss this opportunity, which is mindset. You know, we have this mindset in the military, but as we transition out, if we can carry forward that disciplined mindset, but that mindset of in the Army is at least a decade ago, they were talking about mission command, which is really an art and a science. The art of it is really taking initiative, being creative, and thinking outside the box at the lowest level, 360-degree leadership. So this concept of mindset is so critical, not only in the military, but as you transition out and as an entrepreneur. Yeah. And I would say everything. Mindset is truly everything. I mean, if you're vibrating at a lower frequency, you're not going to be able to accomplish anything. Yeah. If you're vibrated higher and your mindset is on track, then you can freaking that's official word now. You can manifest pretty much anything that you want to achieve in life. And I would also say something that we get, and you didn't really say this, but grit is another thing I'd love to touch on. You know, grit is something that a lot of veterans get, and they can leverage that as they're transitioning out and being entrepreneurs. And then the last thing, this I agree with you 100%, kind of taking it back, is this concept of time capsule.
Yes.
I felt like that not only in deployment, but just as I transitioned out and came to Chicago, which Chicago is much like New York City. I felt like Michael J. Fox from Secret of My Success, and coming here, trying to get jobs, and everyone's like, well, you're not experienced. But I'm like, wait a minute, I have all this experience. I have this education. They're like, it's not the right education. It's not the right, you didn't go to the right schools, sweetheart. You didn't go to Northwestern. You didn't go to University of Chicago or Harvard, you know, or Notre Dame, you know, so I can't even say it right because I'm a caveman. But there is this thing where I feel like sometimes, and I think you do too, is when we are in the military, we get out, the whole world has been going on. We thought 9/11 was important, which it was, and our service was awesome, but not everyone shares that same viewpoint, for better or worse. They were just doing their lives. They were living their lives. They didn't have that calling that we may have had during service.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. There's thank you for your service, right? And we get that, and people mean it.
They do.
But beyond that, they don't care.
They don't. They're not thinking about it on a day-to-day basis. And
it just doesn't matter. It's because if you've never, this is why this is what's the word? It's like a self-greasing wheel. Like we have to create our own, and we are actually doing a pretty good job, is with veteran entrepreneurs. We have to create our own space, right?
We do.
Because folks that haven't been in the military don't understand. And it's not oh, you don't understand me, you don't, the angry VA vet. It's not that guy. It's, you don't understand what it means to be a company commander. You don't know what it means to even be a team leader. Most of these people don't even know what it means to lead 4 or 5 people into combat. and be literally in charge of everything that they do from wake up to when they get put in the bed.
It's true.
And it's a whole skill set that just doesn't translate. It does, but they don't understand it. That's what I mean by they don't understand. So with that being said, if you put veterans, especially discipline, because, and I hate to use it all the time, but Jocko Willink's discipline equals freedom. It sure does. It absolutely does. And when I say discipline, it's just the discipline to get up, go to work, do your job without complaint, get things done on time. Like, that is a dying thing. And like, people can't complete simple tasks. So most military folks,
Consistency.
really, yeah.
Consistency. That's a piece of it too, for sure.
So they are not necessarily great at that because they haven't, but veterans are good at that usually. Not every veteran, but at least 80% of them are really good, right? So with that being said,
veterans will eat veterans. 100%.
Yes, they will. But
we can call it out. We can call
there's
it.
There's always that 10%, man. Always, no matter what.
Sometimes it's 20%.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say 80, But with that being said, you give the right veterans a mission and tell them to do it, and it's done. So
exactly. Yeah.
When that bodes well with entrepreneurship. That bodes with intrapreneurship as well, like as a gaining experience, because you might not want to get out and just become an entrepreneur because you want to own a coffee company, because we have as you know, we need another veteran-owned coffee company, like we need a hole in the head problem.
What's funny though? Yesterday, which I didn't mention during the intro, is I've had this very successful PhD of a e-commerce called Mountain Up. And yesterday, someone called me. They wanted some advice on where in the past have I sourced my beans for when I was offering coffee for a limited time. And I'm like, well, first off, you have a lot of competitors out there. And I'll just tell you, I could sling a lot of shirts and stickers and hats, but coffee is not one of those things people are coming to me for. So good luck. I'm not telling you not to go live your best life and your dreams. Yeah, right. But there's so many, and you have to understand that it's not about the coffee necessarily. It's about the marketing, the strategic marketing. If you don't have the personality, which I don't want this, hopefully this person doesn't watch this, but I don't know if they have, and I'm sorry to tell you this, if you're watching me, I don't know if you have the personality to do the marketing. Sure, we can source the beans all day long. I mean, you could personally go on a plane and jump down and go to Colombia and build those relationships yourself, but at the end of the day, and then you have to worry about tariffs.
Yeah, but now you do. Right?
Yeah, now you have to really. Well, Colombia might be one of those better ones, but at least the beans aren't in China, or you would be in right now. It's as of this day. I don't know when this will be.
I mean,
released,
as it goes for coffee companies, veteran owned, let's use Black Rifle as your that's your op order right there. Like, if you can't do it like them, then I mean, you can do it different, but they did it perfectly because of the marketing.
They did the marketing, and they were actually in the space, not doing a whole lot. Back in 2016, they were building the alliance, and they were working behind the scenes.
Yes,
I remember when what's the kid's name that's part of Black Rifle Coffee?
Well, you've got Evan, you've got Matt, you've got
Eli. I think at the time he was one of their. I don't know what he was doing exactly, but he gave me a call, and this was in the height of my e-commerce, and he's like, "Okay, we want some hats. And I was like, well, how many do you want? 100? He's like, no, kid, you got to think a lot bigger than that. I had no idea what they were up to. And I was like, I was kind of skeptical at that point. But I was still serving on active duty, and I was at the National Training Center with my, I think we've moved past hopefully the time limit on this criminal act of mine. I had like every other person at the NTC in the Star Wars building, I had my cell phone and they FaceTimed me, and I was heading up to a meeting with the COG. So I was like, I couldn't answer it. And they were like, well, we like to see people on camera, and if we call you, you got to answer it. And so Mountain Up did not sell hats.
It just
to them.
wasn't meant to be, right?
It wasn't meant to be. And you know what? No offense to them. I know I'm really casting shade on a bunch of people, but I've been in this space so long, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I don't know if our values aligned. I actually don't. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that in a casting shade way. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Some people have different values and ways of thinking. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean you're bad or good. It's just a nuance of all the the veteran values that we all kind of share together. So them being mad because I wouldn't pick up FaceTime is more what I'm alluding to. And it's I couldn't.
But at the end of the day, you couldn't. So
I was keeping.
Yeah.
I was trying to keep my my business low key and secret. But unfortunately, the marketing, I had people, my former spouse, people were coming up in the PX and going, hey, is that a 24 pack of or a 12 pack of Corona to celebrate Mountain Up?
Yeah.
And she would look behind, and there was a dude wearing a Mountain Up hat. And they were interesting times.
Quite surreal, right?
It was surreal at that time. I'm not that cool anymore, but we had our moment in the sun for sure.
We're not a what did we coin? Eddie Lazary and I and a couple other folks, we got together and we had coined the term oh God, what was it? It was basically veteran and famous. Veteran celebrivet.
Oh, I call it V-listers.
Yeah, the V-listers. But we had tiers of celebrivets, right?
Yeah, that's true. Now they're called military influencers.
Military influencers.
If you go to the military influencer conference,
and you know what? That's where we were. Actually, that's the funniest part is celebrivet, which never went anywhere, but I actually had anyway, fail forward, right? So celebrivet was actually born at the first military influencers conference in Orlando, Florida. In God, I don't remember what year, but
that was probably 16.
Yeah, Cortez was very gracious in allowing me and Eddie and Dwayne France to come and podcast from there and do all kinds of stuff. So it was a good time, but
yeah,
I haven't been back. I kind of fell off the game a little, but either way, my game changed, right?
It did change. And I've been, for the last 2 years, I've been at the Veteran Edge. I'm diving.
Yeah. Which is an IVMF thing, just so everyone knows. And I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
No, go for it.
The Institute for Veterans and Military Families is what IVMF stands for. And it's run from, because I don't really talk about it much on here. I haven't. I should, but I haven't. But it's at Syracuse University. So if you guys, veterans, family members of veterans, spouses, kids, all of you, go check it out. Institute for Veterans of Military Families at Syracuse University.
Yeah,
they have a breadth of programs.
So many. Yeah. To what you're saying, and now I'm interrupting you, but they have IVMF, Institute for Veterans and Military Families, has so many programs. You can find them at www.ivmf.syracuse.edu.
Yeah, correct.
That's a mouthful. Oh my God.
It is a mouthful.
So yeah, that's crazy.
And so we're both EBV graduates, which is the Entrepreneurship Bootcamp for Veterans. We're 10 years apart in graduation. And I went to SU, you went to St. Joe's?
Yeah. Yep, St. Joe's. And just a terrific guy down there, Frank. I'm sorry, Hank. I'm really,
Yeah,
I think
Frank
I need
Hank,
more.
yeah.
I need some Black Rifle coffee right now. Jeez, Louise. So
Yeah,
yeah, Hank's down there slaying it. Not Frank,
Frank
but Hank.
Hank, Frank the Hank, Hank the Frank.
Hank the
So
Tank. Yeah.
yeah,
Hank the,
for sure.
anyways.
Yeah, and Nick Ripplinger from Battlesite is also a St. Joe's graduate as well. So
Yeah.
very cool. All right, so let's kind of talk about what's going on with the economy right now, and what do you see as the pain points where, let's be honest, folks can get, like, let's focus on veterans, could get in there to make a real difference.
So I do think that there's an opportunity. So there's definitely a reset going on.
For sure.
We can see that, and I think over time, I'm going to put a optimistic timeline over the next 90 to 180 days. We're going to see some huge opportunities that are going to arise from these challenges that a lot of people might be seeing right now. And so I think for the workforce in particular, speaking to 10th Mountain recruiting, I do see a lot of job opportunities, that are going to be coming. But we have to realize, with the Doge and all the layoffs and people that are leaving the government right now, it's flooding the market for sure. I mean, right now, I'll just tell you, over the last 12 hours, I've had over 100 LinkedIn requests. And they all have the green banner, and they're all sending. Right now, my LinkedIn is just blown up because I put, to pat ourselves on the back, we said, hey, we've just hired, 3 veterans today. This was 48 hours ago, and the word has gotten out there that we're hiring veterans. And a company, as I alluded to in the beginning, that's in stealth mode right now, has a mission of, over the next 18 months ish, of bringing on over 500 veterans. So a lot of opportunity out there, not just for what I'm doing, but I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity as these government policies and directives fall into place. I think that it's going to create a lot of opportunities, and just may take some time,
I mean, I look at it as a lot of people are losing their jobs with the government. I look at it though as that is a talented people can do more. I'm sorry. The reason that most people get into the government, other than like appointed positions, but in a bureaucratic or what's the kind of job that I'm thinking of? Just like a regular G job. G5 to G12, or G5 to like G14. No, it would be G5 to like G12. Those jobs, you're just a cog in the wheel. And frankly, if you have any talent, it's being wasted. That's not a popular thing to say, but I'm gonna say it.
No, I think
I've been one of those cogs.
We need to be honest.
And at the end of the day, being one of those cogs is wasting other things, because most of you, and if you're watching this, most of you have a side gig. Most of you might have multiple side gigs. So stop it. Stop trying to, because what they want is they're trading security. They're trading security for actual, thriving, and create something, make the country better. You're not doing it by being a peer support specialist at the VA, even though that is a very noble job, right? And a lot of people, that's what they should do. There's a lot of people that I know in government service that are there just because it's easy.
And that's one reason I made a commitment to myself that I would not go onto the government side, because that's how I felt about it.
Yeah.
And about a year and a half ago, Cadet Command contacted me and they said, you should apply, Ryan. And if you knew my history, I was the only Green to Gold Army recruiter on active duty. And I had contracted over 200 people in a very short 2-year span. And so they contacted me. They're like, we're opening up a job tomorrow at the University of, I think it was University of Chicago, for a recruiting operations officer. You should apply to it. And I was like, listen, I'm like, you're contacting me on LinkedIn, so you obviously know I've got these other. They're like, oh, you could do that. You could do that while you're doing this.
Yeah, right.
And for a while, I did think about it, and I was like, maybe I should do it. And then I was like, I don't want to be the fat major, so I think I'll do the fat contract major retired.
Right. Absolutely.
I think I'll just I think I'll stay at the Dojo Mojo Casa House and
Yes,
chill out. But there's a lot of people out there that are, to your point, they've got this stuff going on. They're working, their entrepreneur stuff. My big direct experience with GS employees was, and it was a wake up call to me, was when I left being an XO, Battalion XO S3, and went to the National Training Center to manage as the chief of instrumentation and simulations, was managing a lot of contractors. I can't give you the real number because they never would give me the real number.
Right.
But I had I had 3 GS people underneath me, and to get them to work outside of their scope of work was not going to happen. To take some initiative was not going to happen. It's just one of those things. And so you had to.
Don't exist. They just, it's not what those jobs are there for.
Yeah. And what's the incentive, to do it? Even as something as simple as a tracker. I'm like, hey, I need this. You don't need that, sir. And maybe we'll do it, but when you leave, we're going to throw that in the garbage can. And what's funny is I went on this midway through. I was there for 4 suffering years, but I had this break of 6 months to do a special TDY at JBLM or Fort Lewis, Washington, as a physical adjudicator for the physical evaluation board. And I left, came back in my first meeting. I got put back in the same position as slot, for what I was doing at that time. The positions were limited, and they had just kind of they put a stopgap into it. So I sat down with my team, and I'm like, hey, can I see the tracker? And they're like, sir, we told you when you leave, we're going to throw that away. And they when I left,
they literally did.
They literally threw it away. And I'm like, okay, fair enough, touche. And I'm like, you know what? We don't need the tracker anymore. But
when they say we're working at the speed of government, there's a reason. So if you've been let go, they did you a favor. So go get after it. That's my advice.
My thing is, if you got the opportunity to take that buyout, the money or whatever, you should have done it.
You should have done.
Because there is nowhere on Green's God Earth where you get a paid sabbatical like that. I think it was 7 months. I would have taken the money because I was working remote if I didn't have children and anchored down. And I would have been on I would have still done it. I would have taken the family to Costa Rica for a month and just reset my brain and just been like, you know what? Life's going to be okay. I've got my e-commerce site selling auto parts on the side or whatever side hustle is going on. I'm a coach on the side, a consultant. Right. Everyone's a consultant. Every veteran's a consultant. I'm a consultant.
Even I am. I guess. And I am. I mean, I've made money from it. So it's like,
So have I. So
at the end of the day, So I just feel like there's an opportunity right now that isn't going to come around again in a long time. And we see these throughout history. Just look it up. Yeah, it's there. Even guys like Warren Buffett will say this is the time. It's one of 2 times in his lifetime, and the other time made him a billionaire. So what do you want to do? I mean, it's that. And as you know, I'm in the defense space. And if the pandemic didn't teach us anything, is that a lot of our stuff, manufacturing, needs to come back here, especially defense manufacturing. Target rich environment, folks. Target rich environment. And there's so many tools out there to help you down that path. So you won't even get out of, the same mindset. You don't even have to. You just have to then think about, hey, what would have made my life better as a soldier or a sailor or a Marine? And then create it. There you go.
Maybe it's a chem crayon thing.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's a crayon. And I can also say with certainty that they are minty.
Are they? They're minty?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Minty, mint flavored. Anyway.
But this is off topic, but on topic, because we're talking about crayons, and I can see the glorious Marine, flag behind you.
There it is, yeah.
And I'm kind of sad you don't have a 10th Mountain. I know this isn't
military
focused. Oh, do you? What do we got?
I've got to hang it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
well, it's
that's beautiful.
87th Infantry Regiment.
Yeah.
I don't have. You're right. I need
beautiful.
to get one that's 10th Mountain.
You should. And I know a wood carver that does those. So
it's kind of funny because it's your wood carver, right?
Yeah, actually, it's Bill. Bill
right.
was our
but it's
resident.
the guy that I met him through you. So
yeah, he's a good dude for sure. But okay, well that's great. I was gonna say, have you had the crayons ready to eat? Have you tried the crayons ready to eat chocolate?
I have not. I got to write it down though.
Yeah, it's through Mill Treats. There's a guy named Frank. There is a Frank out there, and he makes these things. It's hilarious, and the crayons actually write, and they're edible.
Wow, what a genius!
Yeah, the only issue is that his chocolate he's like Willy Wonka, but the veteran version. Willy Wonka, and he kind of looks like one of those Bloompa Loomps a little bit. I'm just messing with you, Frank. I love Frank, but. But his chocolate, I better not go into his background, his secrets, but he does use high quality chocolate. Sometimes it's hard. It's limited. We'll just say so.
Gotcha.
But it's good. I've tried it and they do right, which is interesting.
Awesome. That's awesome. So talk about supply chains now. Like how is this stuff? What do you see happening? Because you do have some businesses and you've dealt with some folks that, I mean, I understand it's going to be a pain point, but
this is actually, I do have a story for this, but I'll say this. I'll put out the bluff first. The bottom line up front is there will be some challenges, especially if we're looking to do things 100% made in the United States. I hear this term 100% made in the United States. And I wonder if that's a true statement, because where does the fabrics come from? The textiles, where are all the dyes and all this stuff? Are they truly 100% American made?
I only know one company. I'm sure there's more, but I only know one.
Which one's that?
Origin.
So it's tough because one of the things Origin has had to do is they have to put all this infrastructure into place, and that can be a challenge. Someone like me, rinky dinky, I got an e-commerce. It's going to be tough, and it's going to impact the businesses long term. There was a time in 2018 where I actually traveled to Asia. I don't know if I've shared this story with you, but I was there for about 3 weeks. And I was in search of, first, I wanted to be able to touch my hands on the fabrics and choose them like I was Christian Dior or Ralph Lauren or something. And so I went there. I did go to the textile markets in Asia, and I spent 3 weeks in a village that had a network of hat makers. And I actually made hats. I drank brandy, sang karaoke, and made hats for 3 weeks. And it was interesting to build those relationships and see the impact of the money that was going there. But most of my stuff, I'll just throw it out there nowadays because we're trying to simplify how Mountain Up is done on the backside in terms of automation. And you know, these companies, there's a lot of different print on demand companies. Where are they getting their stuff? They're getting their stuff from China primarily, or maybe Europe and some various other locations. You know, Vietnam's a popular one.
Yeah, I get a bunch of my shirts from Vietnam.
So that is going to have a big impact not only on small business and e-commerce, because we're going to end up, you know, the cost of doing business is going to rise.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? That means that the cost of the items are going to be more expensive. Right. I was just on Ranger Up last night, actually, randomly. I hadn't been on there in a hot minute.
Does Nick still own that?
I don't think he's running it. I think he's pushed it up to someone. But I can tell you the prices have gone up astronomically.
Yeah,
the prices are way up
because they have to.
They have to, and probably in preparation for, you know, what's going to happen. You know, here I don't know when the prices change, but they're way up. And now I'm looking at my
those things is pretty immediate though. It's not like there's not a lag time there. Usually, there's not. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, a lot of those print on demands, everyone that does print on demand or our sourcing partners, even my sourcing partners in Asia, they all told me back in January, they could see the writing on the wall. So they're like, our prices are, they're like, we're raising our prices. And it's because of, you know, whatever, you know, I'm apolitical. So I'll just throw that out there for this particular thing being this interview. But they knew. And they were already starting to raise the prices in preparation.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, it's definitely going to be hard to source stuff. I mean, different. It's just different. All this is different. Change. Yeah.
But we'll be able to do it. We're Americans. We're Americans, not Americans. Isn't that what they say? So we'll be able. Well, I mean, I'm like the biggest caveman person that you've interviewed on your show. I've listened to all your podcast before me, and I'm like, I can't be as sophisticated as some of these people. They're so like brilliant. I'm like, he must just only bring people in from like Harvard and like, Stanford, because I'm like, how did I get an invite? I'm like, I'm a caveman, you know?
Well, I did just interview a guy. Well, not just, it's the episode's already gone out, but, I want to interview him again after this has all happened here soon. His name is Brad Thompson. And he's at Clemson University, and he's the executive director of the Snow Institute for Capitalism. And man, target rich for this guy. He's gonna. I can't wait to get him back on. But unbelievable, this stuff. I could never have. I mean, I guess I could have. This is so much of it is what I wanted to see.
For sure.
Some of it's not. I mean, it's but at the end of the day, there's a lot of Band-Aid ripping or rigger tape ripping that's had to happen. It's been building up forever.
Sure. If we're gonna do it, let's just do it.
Right. Get it done. Get it over with, because I don't think it's going to last as long as people think. I don't think the pain will be as bad as because pain is very short term, usually, not always, but most of the time, and especially economically, because what ends up happening, this is capitalism, right? The market dictates what happens. So that's what's going to happen. But now the market needs to respond. So how is it going to do that? And I say veterans become entrepreneurs. Start building textile companies in Louisiana or wherever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we have one I just brought up. It's in Maine, Origin, Maine. If you don't know it, look it up. Yeah. They've got their own looms. They've got everything. And it was but they're making money. They're profitable. They make some of the best products in the world, in my opinion. So this is not a paid advertisement. I'm just saying it's the one company that I know. I'm sure there's more, but I don't know them. So yeah, my friend.
I'm sure they're about getting ready to blow up.
Oh, because
sure.
now they might be looking at we're going to make stuff for other folks.
Yeah.
Or we're the supplier of textiles. So,
Yeah.
which that doesn't mean the whole world's shut down, folks. It just means China's kind of shut down, at least right now. But there's high quality stuff made in other places too. So, but
maybe
at the end of the
maybe because we're talking about, your show theme is, one of the themes is national security. Maybe all these tariffs there's a bigger picture to it all. And maybe the tariffs are going to slow, China down. I'll tell you something interesting actually about China. And hopefully I don't have, my door being like home invaded. Well, not home invaded, but the government coming and knocking on my door, taking me away. But I was at the officer basic course for field artillery, and one day, and someone validated it because I started believing this was my imagination. And then someone's like, shh, you can't be like, talking about this. But I don't think it's that dramatic. But 2004, they call us into this meeting. There was no cell phones, so they didn't say, put your cell phones away. They're just like, don't take notes, close your notebooks. And this briefing is going to be super secret. We're giving you upgraded secret clearances just for this 1 hour. And the first slide pops up, 2004. Who will be the biggest threat in 2020s? And so a couple people, Al-Qaeda, because they're all focused on the war on terror. Iraq, everybody, and all these different things. And then they're like, the guy says, nope, next slide. China, is there. And then we go into this long briefing that honestly, I don't think I understood all I still don't understand because I don't remember half the concepts, but they said, don't worry about even remembering this too much. Just, we want to plant the seeds because there's going to come a time when a few of you out here will be colonels and generals. And we want you to be thinking about China as you go up and you're progressing up the pyramid. Right. And so that's my story and I'm sticking to it. But to relate back to China and tariffs, we're in the 2020s, and what happened in 2020, there was COVID. We're not going to say who's at fault, but there's a lot of China going on.
Right. So it's true. Absolutely. And I think people need to understand. I think that what is going on now is also highlighting that. And some things, and some of the news, I'm not a fan of the way that they report, because they really aren't telling us everything, or at least from a centralized view. It's definitely skewed, and and it's hard to wade through the nonsense. We shouldn't have to, but we have to. So either way, I think that this is an opportunity, and I think we've highlighted that with you, and it's time to get after it.
Yeah, that's it. And we got to remember, mindset is everything.
Yeah. So leave my viewers with a nugget. Plant another seed.
Plant another seed
On something that they should pay attention to going forward.
I think what you've said is important. If we just put it in the context of the veteran community, we've highlighted a really great program, the Institute for Veterans and Military Families. It's important as you're transitioning out. I know being a veteran, I've taken this real veteran tone on this interview, but it's important to understand as you're transitioning out, everyone says it, you're losing your identity. PTSD. Okay, I got it. I've been there. I've seen the movie. Okay, as you transition out, look for your tribe that's on the other side, so that you can be reborn. Build your base camp. That's really what the tribe is about. You're building your base camp, your patrol base. to put it into military terms.
Yeah.
So find that base camp. That could be potentially the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, or Rosie Network, or Warrior Rising, Bunker Labs, Veterans in Residency. There's so many amazing programs that are out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what I have some hope for veterans as they're transitioning out. I know transition can be rough. There's a lot of uncertainty, but there are people out here that want to support you and want to help to elevate, to unite and grow and elevate you. So that would be a huge nugget. And then just for everybody, and I've said it like 4 times, but it's mindset. You have to put yourself, you have to understand that everything that you go through it's a buildup to something more amazing. Whether that's an awful experience, you have to take these failing forwards and use them and leverage them against the challenges of today and tomorrow. And I have a good feeling for you, for me, and for whoever listens to this advice and really applies it at its deeper level, that you will be able to achieve some really great things. So that's my hope. And especially in this environment that we are in, where we're in a reset that we have not seen in our lifetime, this is just amazing. And I'm, for better or worse, and uncomfortable, not, as it may seem to a lot of people right now, I think that our country is truly headed in a great direction. Yeah. And if it isn't, we're going to know pretty soon.
Because the market dictates. That's just the truth, period.
Oh, and one thing, you got to realize everything that's happening right now is going to set things into motion for the next 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
And so that is maybe the dropping of the nugget, and something that you can be on the lookout for, is that this is going to build some momentum for us.
Ryan,
that's
tell us where we can find you. One last time. Shameless product placement. Do it.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of places to find me. You could actually, this is going to sound so egotistical, but it's brilliant. You can actually Google Ryan Patrick Hunt. You'll find all kinds of stuff about me.
I tell people to do that to me.
It's so easy. But LinkedIn is my spot, and it's Ryan Patrick Hunt. And Veterans Social Summit, which is going to be an amazing event, 12 and 13 September, is at www.veteransocialsummit.com. There's a wait list right now, and people are joining the wait list, and we are limited. Join the wait list. It's going to be great. The theme is Pathways of Entrepreneurship. So if you're out there and you're not at this higher level yet, or even if you are, join us. We're going to have just some amazing people. We might even have our gracious host on there. Maybe, if he wants to.
It's been known to happen.
It may happen if he wants. This is what I do to a lot of people. I throw them under the bus.
Throw them right under the bus. Yeah. No, I hear you. Absolutely. Sure. I'll do it.
That's what they've all been saying. I was actually on it. It's funny because I was on another podcast, totally different. We were talking about entrepreneurship and Michael J. Fox's Secret to My Success.
Yeah.
And so at the very end, I'm like, and you two are going to be at the Veterans Social Summit. And they did the same thing. Yes, we agree.
Sure.
So sure. We'll see. But I think they will be. And hopefully you will too.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me be on here. I mean,
yeah, man.
Truly,
sure.
This is.
I put you through the ringer to get on here, though. You earned it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I elevated this discussion at all, but
you earned it.
But I appreciate it because, you've been a friend of mine. And I have to say this to the audience. You've been what I consider a friend, but also part of the spark of my entrepreneurship for over a decade. Just to put it into context, I told you this at the beginning. You put this seed into my head, and I've used you as one of my failing forwards because I didn't listen to your advice until much later, like 8 years later. But in the back of my mind, you were always taught. You were like the angel on my shoulder talking to me. And it made me, the biggest thing that you taught me, and you didn't even know it, is you have to be open to receive feedback and to at least ponder it. I took too long to ponder it, 8 years. I should have pondered it and actually executed on your advice 8 years ago. I'm keeping that a little ambiguous what the advice was, but but it's important. You've been a huge impact on what I do every day. So I appreciate the invite, the obstacle course to get here,
Always.
and just our continued friendship over the last decade.
Yeah, man, for sure. Same to you. Your the things you've done are inspiring. Plus the shit you've come through and gotten over. Damn. People that know your story know. So it's not my place.
I don't know if that's the theme of it.
No, but at the end of the day, yeah.
I'm always open to talk, though.
For sure. Yeah, man, we'll have you back on before you know it.
Let's do it. All right. I appreciate you.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Yeah. It's just you, me, and the odds. We stuck together, we two peas in a pod. You dealt a bad hand, I'm there seizing the cards. We'll never be separated till we see in the gods. We've been low together, high forever. Long as we go together, we'll die whenever. Be a light, couldn't let the darkness try you ever. Truth in my word, you I lie to never. And when the world gets a little too hard, wipe your eyes, put away your sorrow. When it's war, I'll be leading the charge, and I'll be still fighting for you tomorrow. Yeah, even with a blindfold or in different time zones, could find my way to you with my eyes closed. There's nothing between us. Go to Mars or Venus, stand in front of every one of them rocks